Good morning and welcome, Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason. Jason will be with us momentarily, but welcome to Tuesday.
Here on the audio, just not on the video.
Okay, I can hear Jason. We just can't see Jason. You know what? That may be the best Jason. You know,
I'm working on it. I didn't get my email, Joe. I'm waiting for the email.
All right, well, text Dominic and find out. So 800-951-0592, that is our toll-free number. Of course, the physical delivery of wealth insurance. AllAmericanGold.com is the website. And I'm going to say this, a strong day here for gold and silver. And really, when you think about it, there's nowhere for it to go. You know, I think we're waiting for May here in 2 weeks and a day, right? Not 2 Wednesdays from tomorrow. We will get what I believe to be the final quarter point hike, but the Fed will be opening the door for that to come to an end. And the realities are, I don't know that they have a choice now. More commercial real estate blowing up. We'll tell you who. We'll tell you where. We'll tell you why. Well, we know the why, don't we? Which is we've got too much of it and nobody wants it. More retailers continue to struggle, but don't worry. The mega banks, well, outside of Goldman, the mega banks, Jason, they had a nice little quarter. You know, hey, it's funny how that all works out, isn't it? You know what? We got a little banking crisis, but don't worry, the mega banks are just fine.
Yeah, a lot of deposits went in a specific direction, so I guess I can count that as a good quarter, I guess. You know, we'll see if the deposits stay there. I've seen some stuff where it looks like deposits are leaving the big banks, so where's it all going? People are
don't be
not
fooled.
liking
Deposits
the big banks.
are leaving the big banks as well. Don't be fooled by that whatsoever. People are getting a little smarter about their money. You cannot be over the limit. I'm just telling you. That's just idiot. I would be nowhere near the limit myself. You know, that's just me. You don't want to be. The problem is for the businesses. You know, it just stinks. You know, for a lot of businesses, you know, hey, $250,000 isn't a lot of money. You know, I spend more than that on payroll, or when I buy. You know, look at us, a small business like Patriot. Hey, it's not uncommon for us to wire, you know, $1 million, $2 million, $500,000 every single week, which means, hey, that money's got to be in the account to send these wires. It's a huge problem. These guys are a bunch of liars. They told us they fixed it. Of course, I told you way back when. They didn't fix anything, especially the contagion. And now what we really learned? Because it kind of made sense a little bit. When Lehman went under and Bear Stearns went under, right? We're all like, man, those are big companies. There was nobody who didn't know who Lehman Brothers and Bear Stearns were. Maybe you know, a few people that have their head in the sand. Even the casual person that, hey, I don't listen to Patriot. I don't watch the stock market in the morning, right? I'm just not in tune. They still knew Lehman Brothers. They still knew Bear Stearns, right? They knew, oh yeah, they're a big Wall Street company. They at least knew who they were. But what we learned, about 6 weeks ago, hey, they don't have to be that big anymore. And really what we really learned is it's amazing how small they are after you get past like Bank 6, 7, 8. You know, Silicon Valley Bank at one time was like the 16th, 17th largest bank in the United States. Nobody had ever heard of it. And, of course, it was only $170 billion, right? That doesn't make sense, right? Signature Bank was $100 billion. That doesn't make sense. That's enough to take these systems down. And let me tell you right now, they haven't fixed anything. And all of you sitting there waiting for the next shoe to drop, you're not going to have to wait much longer. Because as we continue to watch what's happening, commercial real estate right now, taking the forefront to all of this. But, Jason, it's just a matter of when. When is the next crisis going to happen, and what are the ramifications of it? And once again, here's what, I'll say this. The Fed has been incredibly consistent in literally having their head so far up their ass. Jason, they can't see anything coming. It's amazing how they can't see, they miss everything.
And I think it has a lot to do with they don't really know where the money is. They know how much they're cranking out, but they don't know exactly where it is, which I keep watching more and more about how that's why the digital currency is so important to them, because they feel like they can fix the problems a lot better if they can control the spending side, which that's one thing they've never had, the power to do. They want that power. And because, Joe, this money flows around in different places. Like you said, those banks, 16th largest bank, Silicon Valley. Well, a lot of money was there, obviously, and it was a big problem when that had a lot of indigestion, so to speak, when it came to their investments. And so they came in and saved that one. Why do you get they're going to cherry pick the ones that need it and the ones that don't. It's knowing where it is to make the decisions, right, Joe?
Yeah, and I'm worried about these smaller banks because their exposure to commercial-backed real estate, it's big. You're talking most of these smaller banks, over half of their portfolio is in this commercial real estate market. So I hope you're taking precautions out there. We got a great show lined up for you. Joe and Jason will be back right after the break. 800-951-0592, Patriot Radio News Hour, Joe and Jason. Quick look here at the markets. The Dow's down 150. The S&P's down 7. The NASDAQ is down about 13 points. Gold's up 15, 2009. Silver's up 25 cents, 25.34. This market update brought to you by our good friends over at Y-Refi, right? Be diversified. Yesterday we had Joey on telling you, hey, get that money out of the bank. Get it out of the bank. And what I mean by that, I don't care if you got it at Schwab. I don't care if you got it at Goldman. Dude, get it out of there. Get it into a non-bank and I really, there is no one else like Northwestern Mutual. They got a better credit rating than the U.S. government, right? So there's a safe place to be. For further diversification, though, why refi, right? You can get up to 10.25%. And it's the interest compounded daily every month. You can do what you want with the interest. You can turn it into income. You can roll it over. There are no penalties, no fees for early withdrawal. If you want to withdraw early, you get all your principal back. Check them out. InvestYRefi.com. That's the word invest, the letter Y, REFY.com. Or call them at 888-YREFI24. Now, Weiss. They do ratings on these banks because we're kind of, and I'm not going to name them. I'm just going to give you their numbers, and let me just tell you right now. They have A, like a letter grade, like school, right? A, B, C, D. Instead of F, they use E, right? Okay. Well, we know what E is. They have, Jason, they've got 16 banks as an E. Now, these are smaller banks man, I hope you're not in them. They have 271 banks as a D. So when we find out now that the real number is, hey, there's 300 banks, 287 banks that are in trouble here. And by the way, credit unions are in this number. Then at the C level, they have 1,335. So really already, hey, we've got over 1,600 banks that their balance sheets don't look very good. There's 2,368 banks that have a B grade and only 643 that have an A grade. Now, the problem with these grades, Signature Bank, Silicon Valley banks, they were not C's, D's, and E's, Jason, before they went under, right? I mean, but this is, again, just a warning to you that when you're talking about, we've got roughly a situation where about 40% of the banks are already, balance sheets aren't very good. And really with these rating agencies and what they're looking at, the problem is the other 60%, you just really don't know.
Yeah, there's, when in 2008, when there was all that chaos going on and big banks were failing, essentially you could almost mark it up even today, and pretty much none of these banks are really solvent. It's a debt money system. They could go belly up very quickly if just a few things go wrong. So the difference between now and 2008, Joe, is I think there's slowly banks that are sliding slowly off the cliff, and they've kind of got, I don't know, a better hold on it. It's not mortgage-backed securities that were being rated corruptly, not as badly as before. I think the dangers aren't as severe at this moment in time. And so I think it's a slower slide, right? There's a lot of banks that are slowly falling off the cliff. And what's going to happen is if the banks that are insolvent, that side gets a little too heavy, it'll tip the scales, right? And things will fall over, right? That's kind of how I see it. Different than 2008, where the whole thing was a lot of greed into bad products.
Yeah, and this one, you're right about that. This is a little bit different. It's still greed, because let's face it, the issues at Silicon Valley, Signature, and others, they just wanted to make more money, and they didn't want to do a very good job of protecting their depositors. Now, the problem is, for a lot of these banks, based on the rules laid out by the Federal Reserve and the FDIC, they forced me into this position. Yeah, I don't have the high net worth depositors that did in Silicon Valley. The problem is I'm still forced to buy the stuff that they tell me I have to buy. And now, if my portfolio erodes, and they have less margin for error, that's the problem, right? Hey, they may not necessarily even have to have a deposit run to cause problems, right? They can just start losing money, right? Well, this one went under, this one went under. You know what? I got to sell my securities, and all of a sudden, you've got a problem. And now Morgan Stanley came out yesterday and said that the last 2 weeks has shown the steepest decline in lending on record. How's that possible? I mean, you think about right after 9/11. Okay, think about that one. Like the whole world stopped. And you're telling me they were still lending more. The financial crisis. Remember, Jim Cramer was freaking out, right? They know nothing, right? Remember, Wall Street won't open on Monday. Yet they were still loaning more. And how about COVID? Right? Remember COVID? Right? Let's shut everything down. And you're telling me that, nope, this event with Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank produced the largest drop in lending ever? Jason, this is a big problem. And this is why there's a lot of people out there, really smart people, saying, oh, you guys just don't get it. You don't get it. Wait 90 days. Wait 120 days. This is going to be really, really bad for the economy. And why in God's green earth is the central bank continuing to raise rates. These guys are fools. And I'm banking on them being a fool, Jason.
Still wonder what ulterior motives there are, because you crash assets and they go down to very low prices. You can scoop them up before the next phase up. The digital currency, which is going to be a whole new world. That aside, Joe, the ability not to lend money, that's a direct result with as we talked about, the first real contraction in the money supply pretty much in our lifetimes. And on top of that, they're selling off their balance sheet. They're doing the contracting and bringing the rates up, so that the money's not there to lend out. These banks need to lend money. It's modern monetary theory, right, Joe? You get a deposit in, you get the loan out 9 times that deposit. Well, deposits are leaving the banks. How can you loan out 9x money if nobody's putting money in your bank? So this is going to make banks fail because of the system, not because the banks are doing anything wrong. They're going by the rules. But if they don't get deposits, they don't get that influx of cash. They can't do the loaning game that's set up the way it is. They're going to have to change the game, Joe, and I think that's what's getting ready to happen.
Yeah. And again, I think Jason's right on this. I'm banking on these guys being idiots, right? But are they? This is probably most likely a designed event. This is what they want to have happen. Now, they want it to be controlled, right? I just rattled off, hey, there's over 1,600 more banks. And really, let's face it, we know that a lot of those A's and B's are fake A's and B's, right? They copied somebody else's homework and don't actually know the material, right? But a lot of these banks are going to go away. And I know there's some of you out there that still don't want to believe it. I get it. I don't want to believe it. I didn't want to believe it. I believe it now. But how about this? This is out of the deputy governor of the Bank of England, so the number 2 guy at the Bank of England. Cash is becoming less usable, he said, as shoppers embrace the internet and high street stores increasingly rejecting bank notes. And we're seeing this play out here as well, right? It's a trickle. I know, who is it? Portillo's. I don't know if you guys have Portillo's up in Colorado. It's like a Chicago style, right? Hot dogs and Italian beef. It's a chain. It's a fast food chain. Okay? Cashless drive-through, they call it now. Yes, we won't take cash, right?
Oh, no.
And this is happening over and over and over and over. And he said that because cash is becoming harder to spend, you try to spend a $100 bill.
It's becoming harder, Joe, because they've made it become harder. Just yesterday, right. I went and picked up some food. Just yesterday, same situation you're talking about. I went in, though. I go in. I kind of want to look at what they're making. But $47, I handed them a 50. I figured, well, this is a good time for a 50. They only owe me $2.50. And they had to go get the manager for a special key to let in. And then I asked, is like, well, is that because I use cash? They're like, anything 50s and above, I have to get the manager and we have to use a key to open the drawer. So I was like, if I gave you 320s, this wouldn't have happened? She said, yep.
Right.
What a process. Get the manager and get a special key because it's a 50. That's an insane rule. That's just something they placed to make cash the enemy.
He says it is now essential that they press ahead with the electronic version of the pound sterling. And guys, I'm just going to tell you, this is the crisis. I don't know when. I wish I did. Then we could all place big bets, right? And we all could live. We all could meet on our yachts down in the Caribbean. Right? Wouldn't that be great? But we don't know. But it's soon. This is not going to end well. Believe me, as I'm sitting here, and again, I know that we want it to be better than what we think, but it's happening. You got to open your eyes a little bit. I'm even seeing it here. Remember, for how long now I've been saying, gosh, I just don't see it here. Seeing it. It's there. You got to look a little bit, but it's there. I mean, if you've been on Scottsdale Road in North Scottsdale, you know what the gas stations are? They're $5.25. Now I just saw the cheapest gas station in town, the Arcos, which nobody goes to. They were up another 10 cents today. And I bring that up because little by little, these small businesses are disappearing. Little by little, some of these restaurants and bars, they were there yesterday. You drive by, and they're not there today. It's coming. I think it's coming very quickly. And again, I think it's part of the plan. This is what they want. This is how we're going to get the digital currency as the savior, Jason.
That's going to be the answer to all the problems. You know, they really can only offer one thing, and that's convenience. The digital currency is going to give convenience, but everything else is not good. So they have to make everything else look like the enemy, Joe. Everything else is the enemy, and come get the convenience. That's the only way they can sell it.
Listen, cash, look at it. It's just so hard to use. It's so complicated. We don't need it.